Is this the electric car that's going to shake up the market for EVs? Yes, it's a new platform. Yes, it's got more refinement. Yes, it's rear-wheel drive. It's certainly a new saga for MG. And here's the crazy thing. These start at around £26,000. Meet MG4. I'm Ben Quirk. Welcome to Planet Auto. Now you likely saw our first look at Bista. And the bottom line was we had 20 minutes with it and I knew very little about it. I gave you a slight taste, but to be honest, you need to know more. Because it's that good. We've lived and breathed this for a full week. You see these horror stories about the oil, etc. But no, we saw none of that. Well, it's not skipped a beat. But that's been our experience overall from MG for about the last 5 years. And we take things like the ZS EV all the way from Goodwood back here. And that was when the infrastructure for electric vehicles was, let's say, sketchy. I mean, it was cheap, don't get me wrong. It was around 15 quid to come back up. So to get to go on a considerably longer adventure in this, well, it just showcased all its skills. The one thing that really gets me is the fact there's no grab handles. But literally, that's about it. I mean, the design language, it speaks for itself. It's aggressive, it's sporty, big fat flared arches, LED lights, they're automatic, you get high beam assist. And I think I can only describe this as like a touring car front. And the thing about this vehicle is, it doesn't matter that it's not sat on the floor. Because it's an electric vehicle, it's heavy, so it handles regardless. Charcoaly black elements, and you've got lots of tech and safety too, including MG Pilot. And if you go for the trophy, you'll even get extras like blind spot detection and cross traffic alert. But the suite across the range is, well, pretty magnificent. Even things like the infotainment screen, faster, more responsive. The MG Pilot, they've got better systems. Now you expect adaptive cruise control with stop go, AEB, etc, etc. But this now comes with adaptive regen. All in all, it's just better. Now I could climb in it here, but where's the fun in that? So why not join us up at Loch Morlich in Aviemore? Welcome to the Glenmore Forest Park with our friends the Ducks. So yes, the MG4. This is part of our road trip and it's day 3. I just realised I'm not actually showing you any of the practicality. You've seen me driving like miles and miles, but I've not shown you what it's like, headroom, legroom, and all the features, etc. Things like smartphone app, pockets and things like that. So let's remedy that. Now at 6'3", I've got absolutely no problems getting in it. And that's the front and the rear. So a decent ride height. Yeah, you're not going to be going green laning, but you can get down some muddy trails, fields, etc, etc. Now this is hard, but it's... The thing about the MG4 is they've lifted everything up a notch. It's stronger, it's more sturdy. You've got padded areas here and easy to reach functionality, and they've lightened them up with this and the blue stitching. Now bear in mind this is the trophy edition. No grab handles. Yeah, that's a strange one. But the seating position, rather nice. Reach and rake adjustment here, and this will monitor to see if you're actually awake whilst driving. As far as I can see, it's the perfect friend, to be honest, because it doesn't nag me, but it will alert me if I think, Now the controls have changed a bit, you've got joysticks here, but most things operate with one touch, and you can also put favourites on here too. Regen, driving modes, etc. Now we'll show you more of that on the drive. Yeah, small cluster, but this seems to be the trend. And also you can see most of it through here anyway. So if you hit a home, then you can see things like you charge. Not only that, you've got Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and if you go to car settings, you can see the drive modes, energy recovery, and there's now adaptive. That means your regen will sort itself out, and it works rather well. Well, that's a proper solid bang. And that's the thing about this, the construction is pretty damn solid, especially this. Talk about rigid. This reminds me of BMW iX. The rotary has once returned, so reverse, neutral, drive, and park, you just hit the button in the centre. Electronic handbrake, hill start assist, etc, etc. I do like this massive centre console. So you've got storage points here, and a little net. Decent storage point. That's a point. This also has Wi-Fi. 2 cup holders, and you've got USBs. And this is a wireless charging pad. Comfortable, supportive seats. I don't need to say much more about that because you'll see that in the road trip. And we were sat in them for about 7 hours in one go. And I got out feeling comfortable. So yeah, they look pretty good too. And you've got airbags in them. You've got airbags around the vehicle, ISOFIX points, etc, etc. I'll talk more about that in the back. But the design of the interior is a whole new level. Yeah, you've got your piano black, so yeah, not the easiest thing to clean. But things like the vents, they're not dust traps, not in the slightest. It's all just, it's very ergonomic, it's very modern, it's very minimalist. Now you will find hard plastics, but that just makes it robust. Auto dimming mirror, black roof, and yes, somewhere to put your sunglasses. It's a great driving position, especially with the armrest and the padded area here. And look at the steering wheel. It's very similar to the one that you saw many moons ago in the Allegro, but not quite as emphasised. But it means for a great driving experience. And you feel like you're connected to the vehicle. Right, I think that's enough for the front. Let's take a look at the back. I almost forgot. I've got an electric seat, but Annabelle's got a manual. When it comes to the seating position, well, we've had a few questions. Primarily, how does it sit height-wise? And I'd say it's more like a traditional car than, say, an SUV or an MPV. But you've also got height adjustment on the electric seat anyway. So, let's take a look in the back. Well, the door opens nice and wide. And this looks to be simplicity. Bear in mind the seat is set for me at 6'3". Oh, that's easy. I need to duck my head a little bit, but nothing too out of the ordinary. Yeah, hard touches once again, but yet again finished nicely. And gloss black. The other thing is, the rear door cards are very similar to the front, and I like seeing the consistency. You know, like blue stitching, decent door pocket. Padded area on the front, but this is hard in the rear. But they've done it in such a way that it does appear like it's a material. Yeah, very clever. Apologies, we've moved in. You don't do a 700-mile road trip without, well, getting acquainted, shall we say. Look at this. So this is set at 6'3", and a lavish 6'3" at that. And I can get my feet under the seats, and I've got decent leg room. And also the height. So, considering how sporty it looks from the outside, it's like a TARDIS inside. Excellent. Smart pockets, USB here, and a storage point. And if you've noticed, this is far further forward, so it gives you even more room. Anyone sat behind Annabelle, you could have a picnic down there. Reduced transmission tunnel, and yes, there is going to be a 4-wheel drive in the future. And this is likely vegan leather or something similar. But it's comfortable, they're supportive, we don't have an armrest. But the room in here is pretty damn good. No adjustable seat belts. Yeah, that would knock Annabelle, but for me, it never really seems to matter, to be honest. Coat hook. But yeah, the one thing that lets it down, no grab handles or rear light. Very, very strange. Now you will find hard plastics here. It would have been nice to see a bit of padding, and you can see some of the paintwork, but I like that. But it's orange, I'm going to, aren't I? And I think that's it, to be honest. Right, let's take a look at the boot. Let's first look at this. Talk about design language, like beams of light. So this is all LED, and all MG4s have rear LEDs. But they don't all have this light bar. Ah, yes, the top rear spoiler. This makes it far more sporty. So this is trophy only too. We've got a 360 camera, parking sensors, and a rather aggressive back end too. And it's not just like that for the looks, it's also there for aerodynamics, for decreased drag, etc., make it efficient. Because bear in mind, this is on a completely new platform. So this is the future of MG. They're even talking about scaling the platform and doing things like battery swaps. Arguably, this is the most influential electric vehicle ever. Let's take a look in the boot. No power tailgate. Yeah, it's not the biggest boot in the world. It's housed everything we've got, including our MG bag from the ZS launch. Our camelback bag, it's completely invisible to radar. Adidas yellow boots, those things. Lots of room, lots of space. Rear light, drop in the seats, absolutely no problem, just pull up. Actually, if we unhook these, which are nice and simple to do, and literally, and you can do it from here, push that forward, and whew, it does lay pretty much flat, and there's very little gap too. That's the thing about the MG4, it ticks so many boxes, and I think that's about your lot. And with this knob here, like on the ZS, you can power fold your mirrors. They're only available on Trophy though. You can also adjust your headlamp height, and that's because you can tow half a ton. Let's take a look under the bonnet. To open, you just slide this right and lift. And this is as far as it goes. It's not the lightest bonnet in the world either. You can see where to top up fluids. And yes, it's a psych battery. That just puts things in context, doesn't it? Their own battery factories. And that's not just for things like 12 volts. That's for batteries for this. I think one of the biggest changes, and I still haven't worked out whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, because I actually quite like the fact that the charge point was on the front. But it does make more sense to put it on the rear. So here's the new location. This is more sturdy than the front as well, and it's a new lighting system. 10 to 80% in around 30 minutes. So you've got rapid charge, type 2 and home charge. The other thing about this is it uses iSmart app. It gives you control of your car in the palm of your hand. Here's a nice little battery information screen, so you can see your total power, the energy flow. So when I back off, and then when I put power back on.
Power consumption 1 kilowatt.
Well, that's interesting. I've got back into the vehicle, and the fact that I mapped my driving modes to this button, it's still active. The cluster's nice and straightforward, and you can see that I've got the navigation now mapped to the right hand side. So you set it using the infotainment, but the fact that you can see it in the cluster, yeah, great. Let's do a launch from 30 to 60 in sport. 60. It's also put the regen on heavier too. Wow, that's pretty good. Well, that's interesting. We've just been trying to work out what the bar does, but it's saying here average power consumption is 2. So you can see exactly what it does. I can probably get it to drop to 1.
Well, it was on 3 just now, so it's the bar that moves up and down.
Interesting. Thank you for joining us on our MG4 adventure. It's been quite the ride over the last week. Ultimately, you get an electric family car for around £26,000. I mean, you don't have to go for that. You can go for, say, our Trophy for around £31,000. And that way you'll get a longer range and more tech. But I suppose the question you have to ask yourself is this the electric car that's going to make manufacturers take a look at their own models and think, actually, we can reduce our prices? And if MG can do it for starting at 26k, it makes you wonder what other manufacturers are going to offer in the future.